But I'd love to hear from you why representation, especially in our field, is so important and, what that means in the scope of therapy.
Right. Okay. So, for me, I think representation, I think about it like in two different ways. Like, I think about obviously like the representation and like the materials we're using with our kids and what books we're reading, and like if kids can see themselves reflected in the things that we're using. And then I also think about it in like the field, which is like 92% white, and how hard it is for people of color to like succeed. Like it's hard, and just to even get to the point where they're considered in the field, it's hard to get there. So I think for me, representation became a really big thing when I was like the only Black person in my undergrad. I think at least my senior year, I was definitely the only Black person in my undergrad, and like there were no like people of color professors, and I just felt like I didn't have anyone that I can look up to. Like how like you can't be what you can't see is what I say all the time. Like how am I supposed to feel like I can be in this field when there's none of me here, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's definitely really hard. And then when it comes to our kids and like what we're using in therapy, I think it's the same thing. We use like action cards and like jobs and occupations, and like we show all these people like doing all these different things, and like 9 times out of 10 they're white people doing these things. They're white people in like the doctor and teacher position, like all of those things. And it's I feel like if we like really put in effort to make these materials diverse, and we showed these kids like these are things that you can do, these are things that you can be, it will go a long way. I know like if you ask if you ask a kid in the hood what he wants to be, he's going to be something that he sees in the hood, because like that's something that he sees on a daily basis. That's the people that he can look up to. He doesn't have teachers, lawyers, SLPs that like are looking out for him, that are telling him you can be anything you want to be, because like you can, like we just don't get that kind of support. And I think it starts in our sessions with the things that we're showing them on a daily basis, or the books that we're reading, and just making sure that they see themselves and they see what they can be. And then I also think it goes back to diversifying the field as well.
Yes, yes to all of that. I mean, it really is true. I'll never forget when I was in my graduate um, school rotation, and I was working in a very small factory-based town in central Illinois. And I asked the student I was working with, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he said, "I want to work in a factory," because that's the only examples of people in his town of where they were able to gain employment. And that's so different from I grew up outside of Chicago, where people saw a wide diversity of jobs and people doing those jobs, but he didn't even think of other options of things that were available to him, because you can't be what you can't see. I love that phrase. And so I think that that's absolutely true, and things that we can start doing. I actually, I don't know if you know this, Jordyn, but I wrote an article about this on our blog, and I actually included your Instagram on it.
Did
Yes,
you?
I
Oh, I have to
did.
read
I
it.
did. I've been a longtime fan. But we have an Allies and Allied Healthcare series that I'm trying to increase people's awareness about different topics, and representation and therapy materials is in there. And I referenced you because I think you do such a great job talking about that and, providing resources for that. But okay, so that's one part of representation. And then the other part, of course, is coming back to our fields and, representation within our field. And so, there's this term symbolic annihilation, and it's so powerful and real. Can you explain what this is for our listeners who maybe have never heard of this before?
Definitely. I actually just heard of this phrase recently myself, so I'm sure most people haven't. But it's the theory that someone not frequently seeing people like themselves in the media they consume is equated to being unimportant. So I can definitely like speak on that for myself. Like I grew up and didn't see like Black girls in shows, like in movies, or like if they were in the show, they were light skinned, like really light skinned, or they were like they weren't the it girl, or they were just like the side character, like they weren't important. And this is exactly what symbolic annihilation is saying. If you're not seeing somebody in an important position, then why would you think that you're important? And I think like seeing a range of diverse people in a variety of positions shapes the way that people like believe the world is, or believe what the possibilities they have are. And that goes back to like, you know, the materials. Like if we are showing like black SLPs and black teachers and black doctors and Hispanic lawyers and Latinx, like what's another job?
Engineers,
And- Oh,
astronauts.
that's a good one. That's a good one. And see, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you know, it's really hard to find those kind of people in like stock pictures or anything like that. And it really like frames not only the way like the kids see the world, but the way that we do. Like we're using the materials, we're seeing them on a daily basis, we're watching the commercials and the shows, and it's a message that's, you know, it's ingrained in us without us even knowing it. So I think it's really important to be focused on changing that narrative for us and for the kids.